Hello, in this video I will talk about what happened this week. At 1 o'clock I walked home, I got home, I saw my mother sitting outside the house. Apparently she had forgotten the keys. This was on Wednesday. Then my mother told me that my daughter had hit her. So I told my daughter later that day that she had four options, or five. One, to go live with grandpa in California. Two, to go live with the uncle in Arizona. Three, to go live with Junior. Four, to go live with C, a friend of hers. Or that she would be going to the juvenile jail. So then my mother, my spouse, and I had a meeting at 10 o'clock Wednesday night or so. And my mother was upset that I gave my daughter those options, because my mother said, I was expecting you to teach your daughter by telling her to respect her elders or something like that. And that what you did, Daniel, was completely wrong. And then my mother got upset and threatened me. Since my mother worked with the foster children as a secretary in Chicago, I know that she knows what words to say to the police to get me Baker acted or get me thrown in jail or things like that. So my mother's words were, you want to go eat turkey at the Baker Act Hospital, meaning at the Baker Act Hospital, that's the one she was mentioning. And I think you want to go past Christmas over there. I'm gonna send you over there for turkey. That's what I'm gonna do. So my mother attacked me verbally. I kept poised. I was standing at the door. Maybe I was inside the room, but no, I must have been inside the room, but I remember seeing her and I was standing by the door. I know what had happened. I had gone to get my daughter to be in the meeting, but my daughter said no. Then I went to get my mother and I told my mother to let's go to my daughter's room so that we could have the meeting. But my mother said, I'm not moving. So that's why I was standing at the door. And my mother is in her bed. And the wife is in that room also. My mother's room. And so my mother says, I'm going to send you over there. And I responded by saying, poised, in a poised manner of speaking. Usted cosecha lo que siembra. You sow, you reap what you sow. It's a Bible, biblical. They're in the Bible, those words. You reap what you sow. Then I walked away. So on Thursday, I did not go to the police. I don't have a phone. On Friday, I did go to the police officer. And he asked me, "You walked here?" I said, "Yes." He said, "This happened on Wednesday. Why didn't you come here on Thursday to report it?" And then I told him that I had had sex with the wife at 8 o'clock in the morning. And since that's what happened, I fell asleep for the rest of the day because that's what happens to me. So then he said that how old is my mother? And I said, I think she's 67, 68 or something like that. But I gave him the birthday. I just had to do the calculator to find out how old she is right now. And he told me that it was a felony. But then I also told him that on Thursday, the day after my mother threatened me, I didn't talk to my mother at all. I haven't talked to her since. Today is Saturday. And I told her that, let me see if I can get that thing going. And I told her that, where is that thing? I'm looking for, oh boy. I can't find it, so I don't know how to do it. Alright, so I told my mother that, but it is Saturday, November 23rd. I told my mother that, I told the police officer that I did not speak to my mother and that I was reporting what had happened and that I would not give breakfast to my mother and would not give her lunch. And I didn't on Thursday. But then he stopped me and he said, "Wait, does your mother walk?" I said, "Yes." Then he asked me, "Does your mother cook?" I said, "Yes, she cooks sometimes." So then he said, "I'm not going to arrest you right now because your mother walks and cooks. But if you did not give her breakfast and lunch, and you say you do it every day," and I said, "Yes, I do it every day." Then he said, "Then it would be negligence, I think, or it would be abuse. If you don't feed an elderly person, then it's called abuse, I think." So what did I get out of all of this commotion of telling the police? The police officer said, "Go wait at the house." My mother was not home on Friday. I think she had gone to the doctor's. So he said, "Okay, she's not home. Do you have her phone number?" And I said, "No, because I haven't called her." And when you live with them, you don't remember their phone numbers. You don't memorize them. I don't have a phone to call anyone. So then he said, "Well, I'll meet you at the house at 2 o'clock." A couple of hours later, because it was maybe 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. But nobody was home. I mean, I was here, and the cops didn't come. They had left a note on the door. Someone did. And then later on that day, I found out that my mother is living with a friend of the family's, which I am grateful. Because my purpose is not that my mother be homeless. My purpose in reporting it to the police was because my mother had threatened me. She does have the vocabulary to talk to the police and get me thrown in jail, because she did it before on February 13th, 2013. She went to the courthouse with my wife. She wrote an ex parte paper about me saying that I hear things and that I see things and that I want to homeschool my children. I believe that's what the paper says. And then she had my wife, who doesn't really speak English very well, she had my wife sign it so that my mother's hands are clear. And then she got my wife to go along with this because she told my wife, DCF is going to take away your children. Your husband has already been Baker Acted once for Christmas in 2012. And if you allow him to teach your children by homeschooling, then DCF will take away your children. So my wife went along with this. I didn't want to stop homeschooling my son because all we do is laugh, learn, and play. I didn't have a dad, and so I enjoy my time with my son and my daughter too, when my daughter is respectful. My son is always respectful. My daughter is not always respectful because I don't work and I don't buy her things. I don't buy my daughter things. I don't buy anyone things. I don't have a job, so I don't have money. So in the end, what happened was, the way my wife spoke to me, she accused me of doing things that are wrong. In my brain, I didn't do anything wrong. My purpose was to get my mother out of the house and into a nursing home or some place where she would not hurt me, because she wants to throw me in jail whenever she gets upset, or she wants to throw me in the Baker Act hospital jail whenever she gets upset with me. And I'm 41 and I've received 41 years of abuse from my mother. So what I do now, I'm a Christian. I love my enemies because that is the only legal thing I'm allowed to do. In the United States, we have a bunch of laws. But even in the Bible, it says, vengeance is the Lord's. I've been kind to my mother. I let her play with my children. I still am being kind to her right now. I told the police officer that I had not talked to my mother since she threatened me on Wednesday night. So I didn't talk to her Thursday and Friday. I was reporting this. And that I would planned on not talking to my mother for at least until the end of the year. If not just November, but the end of December too. So what did I get out of all of this? My wife sees that I did everything wrong. I told my wife, number one, spouse, you would be in jail for not reporting once you knew that grandma is accusing our daughter of hitting her. That's a felony. If you don't report it, then you are some sort of accomplice. So my wife would go to jail. I would go to jail. The reason I'm not in jail right now is because my mother can walk and she can cook. Otherwise, by not feeding her breakfast and lunch that day, I would be in jail. That's 2. 3, if it was true that my daughter hit my mother, then my daughter would be in some sort of juvenile jail. And so then, of course, my son would be all alone in this house. He could not allowed to do that. So he would be with DCF. So all of us would go to some sort of jail. And I have a bunch of videos about all the activities I do with my son, playing soccer, playing football, playing wrestling, playing, reading. I haven't made them public because the spouse told me that she doesn't want our kids to be viewed publicly on the internet. And of course, my spouse has also told me that if I ever do that, then I would go to the Baker Act place. Jail. Hospital jail. So what's happening? Oh, and grandma would probably be in a nursing home, I think. Okay, so that's why I did everything that I did this week. It was to protect myself from being thrown in jail. Not because I'm afraid of going there. It is a torture. It is a type of torture. Because when you don't see your children and you're accustomed, the only time I haven't seen my son and my daughter, well, my daughter went on a vacation for the summer one time, but the only time I haven't seen, just to explain my life, the only time I haven't spent with my children were those 7.5 days when I got thrown in the Baker Act jail hospital this past Christmas, 2012. And then those 5 days that I was thrown back into the Baker Act hospital jail in February. Those were the only days that I have not spent with my children. Except, I'll add one exception. I did drive to Miami when my children were younger to see my ex-wife for Christmas. But that was because I got angry at this spouse because they're always cooking pork and I don't eat pork. And they celebrate Christmas, but all they really celebrate is eating. They don't celebrate by reading the Bible or by talking about Jesus saving all the humans that believe in him. And so then, of course, I drove to Miami several hours. I got there, of course, the spouse is not home. She's at some party, I think. I'm not sure. She finally gets home, but she's supposed to go to some other, or she was at work, I think. She has one of those schedules. Then she was supposed to go to some party, but they called her up to cancel. I was sitting in the couch, but then my ex-spouse started drinking. Then she kept getting more and more phone calls. And so that's how that Christmas went. But it was great to see my ex-spouse because, well, there is a similarity between my ex-spouse and this spouse. They are both, I'll say in one way, they're both athletic. The way that they're both athletic is that they don't sit still. They move this way, that way. They are always busy. So I drove back here. This spouse was upset, but she let me in, and I haven't left my kids' side since that occurred. I love both of my children. I get along better with my son because if I say, let's go play soccer, he says, sure. Or he'll say, no, let's wrestle or something. If I tell the daughter, let's go play soccer or let's read a book or read one of these books I read, she'll say, no, and she'll walk away. So that's why I spend more time with my son. I am very happy that Everything is working out very well at this time. What can I say? Well, God bless you. In Jesus' name, please read your Bible. You can learn many things from the Bible. You read biographies like King David always had problems with, I think, his children. I think they all wanted to be the next king. So they were having problems. Every family has problems. The only solution to your problems is God. Read your Bible. Bye, my friends. In Jesus' name I leave you. Peace be with you.